Hi guys, I want to show you the notation for these problems. It's just a matter of knowing how to read it. It looks kind of freaky, but once you get used to it, it's not so bad. In this problem, it says the functions r and s are defined as follows, and we have an equation for r, and we have an equation for s, and it tells us to find this. And whenever we see that, we're going to read this, the r of s of 4, or we can read it r follows s of 4. And so what it means is always start here with the number or with the very innermost thing, and it means that we're going to plug this 4 into the s equation first. Okay, so we're just going to unravel this from the back to the front, the inside to the out. So we're going to take the s equation, which is 2x squared plus 1, and we're going to plug in a 4. So we're going to say 2 times 4 squared plus 1. If you want to use your calculator, that's fine, but stick the parentheses around the number that you're plugging in. It will save you from making weird math errors. I'll show you when we get to one where it really matters. 4 squared is 16 plus 1 is 32 plus 1 is 33. Okay, so we know what the s of 4 is. The s of 4 is 33. So now we're going to go to the r, and we're going to find the r of s of 4, or the r of 33. So see how we're unraveling it from the back to the front, from the inside to the out. So we're going to take that 33 and plug it into the r equation. The r equation is this. Let's see, our equation is negative x plus 2. So we're going to go negative 33 plus 2, and negative 33 plus 2 is negative 31. So I believe the answer to this whole thing, the r of s of 4, or r follows the s of 4, the answer should be negative 31. Okay, and then the second problem is the same thing with a slightly different notation. You can write what we just did using this little notation right here. So this is read w follows the u of 2. Or if I wanted to write it like the last problem, it could be written like this. All right, so it still means we're going to start with this. You're working backwards on these, and we're going to find the u of 2. The u of 2 means take the u equation, which is 2x, and plug in a 2. So I have 2 times 2, which is 4. So I know that the u of 2 is 4. So now I'm going to do the w of u of 2, or the w is the last part, and I'm going to use what I found for this to plug into that equation. So the w equation happens to be negative 2x squared plus 1, and I'm going to plug in the 4 that I got previously, negative 2 times 4 squared plus 1. So see, I plugged that into the x place in the w equation. So I did the u one first, I used a 2 in u, and then I took what I found for that, plug it into the w. So negative 2 times 16 plus 1 is negative 32, plus 1 is negative 31. And so I'm sorry, I just did one that I already did, and you can see the answer there. That's fine. Then the next thing you're going to do is the u follows the w of 2, or the u of w of 2, which means that I'm just going to start with the w of 2. The w of 2 means get the w equation, which is negative 2x squared plus 1, and plug in a 2. Negative 2 times 2 squared plus 1 is negative 2 times 4 plus 1, or negative 8 plus 1, or negative 7. Okay, so I've got the W of 2. This is the W of 2. And now I'm going to use that to plug into the U equation. So let's see, one more color here. And I'm going to find my U equation, which happens to be 2x. And I'm plugging in this into that equation. I have 2 times negative 7, which is negative 14 for a final answer here. So it matters what order it's in. Just remember, we're working backwards. We're going from the back of it to the front, back to front, inside to outside. I'll do one more of those if I have time on this video. Try another. All right. The U, or U follows the W of 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with the W of 1. That just means take 1 and plug it into the W equation. Okay, so I could write that like this. W of 1 equals the square root of x plus 3. That means plug in a 1 instead of x. And I end up with the square root of 4, which is 2. It's actually plus or minus 2. I think they're going to assume that it's the positive. So let's assume that it's the positive. We'll make sure we get that right. Okay, we know that the W of 1 is 2. So let's take that and plug it into U, because we have U follows the W of 1. We have already found the W of 1. We know that it is 2, and we're going to plug that into the U equation. The U equation goes like this: x squared plus 5. And so I'm going to take that 2, square it, plus 5 is 4, plus 5 is 9. All right, so I'll write 9 there. Now let's look at the W follows the U of 1. So the U of 1 is going to go into x squared plus 5. And so that means plug the 1 in right there, equals 1 squared plus 5, which happens to be 1 plus 5 is 6. Okay, now that I know what the U of 1 is, happens to be 6, I am going to plug that into the W equation. So I actually want to know what the W of 6 is, because I found all of that. Okay, so the W of 6 is going to go into the square root equation. And so I'm going to do this. The square root of 6 plus 3. Very convenient, happens to be the square root of 9, which is a nice number. Technically plus or minus 3, but sometimes we assume the positive. So let's go with 9 and 3 and just check that. 9 and 3. Check. That'll do.